welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Muzna Jamil Mallal from Nike.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at DATAVERSITY, and this is My Career in Data, a DATAVERSITY Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to talk with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Muzna Jamil Mallal, Senior Data Consultant at Nike. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Muzna, hello and welcome.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for being here. I love it. So you're a Senior Data Consultant working at Nike. So tell me, for those who may not know, what type of business is Nike?
First thing, I think everyone would know about this. I need to meet those people who don't know about Nike, and they should search. But it is one of the most recognized company in the world. It builds apparel, footwear, and equipment, mainly for sportswear. They're doing a lot of new collaborations as well, and it's mainly retail and supply chain.
Yeah. I grew up on the story of how Nike started. So, because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest of the United States where it started. So, it's kind of a company after my own heart. So tell me, as a senior data consultant, what do you do?
So I think as a consultant, this comes with the role, is that you're dealing with multiple opportunities and multiple roles at the same time. So my work involves around data engineering and also data analysis. You have to switch gears, and then also some data science work, and then business reporting. So a lot of my work revolves around ingesting the data that's available on different softwares, applications, platforms that we're looking through. So depending on the nature of the data, we pull that in, we clean it up like any other person, and then we make reports on it for our business users.
Well, very, very nice. So you're just a little busy.
Always. Super busy, not just little. I think that's the beauty of data, right? It exists, and as long as data exists and the volume of data that exists, it keeps you busy and occupied, sifting through it, looking through patterns and business insights that you can find. That's what you do. Yeah.
Oh, sure. So, you're heavily involved in data every day. You kind of talked about this, just in what you do. So what is it? So can you kind of expound, what's your typical day and what data you're typically working with in your job?
Sure thing. So right now, what I'm currently working on is sustainability side at Nike. They're huge on sustainability, and as you would know, and I usually try to give the aerial view to other people because I don't stick to one organization. It's just, your listeners are from every field. So sustainability overall within US and in the world is pretty important. There are a lot of regulations out there, European Union regulations, within American soil. There are a lot of regulations that needs to be maintained by organizations, especially if they're in supply chain and retail. So a lot of my work specifically right now is involved along reporting, carbon emission reports, greenhouse gases emissions. We have different metrics around water, waste, people. There are different metrics, depending on the business and the kind of organization you're part of. You have different kind of data being collected on those fronts. My work right now is that I have few data sources that I'm pulling the data on from. There are some applications and this is not just US only, it's an international data that we're looking at. that. So not the data practices aren't the same everywhere. If you're looking for a country in Asia, it might have some different regulations and data population techniques that they're working on, versus what we'll have here in Oregon or Virginia or anywhere in the US. And same as in European Union, they have different kinds of profiles that they're filling in for data. So my work revolves around getting all that data, combining it together, and then the end. I always look at the end goal, what we're trying to achieve. In this case, we have our Nike goals 2030 that we're trying to report, and need to ensure that the data that's being fed there and being reported is correct. Overall, just as a company, they want to meet those, those thresholds and those markers that we are sustainable and how much we're saving and how much we're actually helping. So that's what usually my day-to-day work looks like. Getting the data through API, data validation is a huge part of my work, because like I mentioned, these reports are super important. And if you're not validating them correctly, you're not reporting the data right. So in terms of technology, SQL, Databricks, Snowflake, Python, PySpark, all of these tools are what we use day-to-day basis.
Fascinating. Who would have thought that an athletic retail company would be looking at such data? Like, I didn't even, because even though I've shopped Nike and, looked at, they're sustainable, they market that very heavily, sustainable materials, this was made from the certain items. I didn't realize the data went that deep. That's impressive. Yeah.
And I think it's not just Nike specifically. A lot of other organizations that I've tried networking, learning more about these things that I'm passionate about. And I see a lot of other organizations as well, very keen on sustainability, especially, environment. Everyone wants to save our environment. So I think it works well for everyone. And to use the data for this purpose, I think that's a great opportunity as well.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, let's back this up a bit. So tell me, when you were, let's talk about how you got into what you're doing now. When you were, say, 6 years old, what was the dream? What did you want to be when you grow up? Did you say, I'm going to grow up and be a senior data consultant? Or what was the dream?
I wanted to be a flight attendant because they get to travel everywhere for free. That was my dream job. If you would ask me at 6 years old.
I love it.
But I don't think I was tall enough to qualify for that role. So I had to settle into something else. But definitely, while I wanted to be a flight attendant, another thing that I did enjoy a lot was maths. Of course, we didn't have the fields of data and AI back then, and I'm quite old. But I knew definitely coming from a family of scientists. Both my parents were scientists. My elder sister was a physicist. So I think it came to me very naturally that the stream of line that I want to pick up is engineering and STEM itself. And one thing that I did see compared to my other folks or my peers and friends was they hated math. Most of them, not everyone. They didn't like math, and everybody would be like, whenever we had an exam coming up, everyone would be stressed out. And I think I really enjoyed it. It doesn't mean I was a great student, I won't say that, but I enjoyed maths and still do, I think. And that was the basis of me coming into this profession as well. I think maths for me is very simple. You do 2 and 2, you get 4, or you don't do 2 and 2, you mess up, and then you don't get the right. So it's always right or wrong in maths. There's no, long scripts of writing like geography or history, or, you need to know who's who and what's what, and then, explain what happened. And that's just me. No offense to anyone who likes history. It's just me. I think I loved maths. It made a lot of sense to me. I loved solving problems and I know it's probably a cliche answer, but a lot of people have that. But I think it just came to me so naturally. And I enjoyed doing puzzles. And then that's what made me to, choose engineering as my undergrad. And then, it's just the flow of events that took place. I started working for a USAID project in 2013, which was my first exposure to actually databases in MS Access. If someone here would know what that is, I'm sure the young kids wouldn't even know what that is. But we had MS Access at that time, which was basically building our entity relationships into the data form and that was actually my first-hand experience, because a lot of things were being manually fed into surveys. Like, people would go on ground and get those surveys filled up and then bring them back. So my job was to build that grant management system for the project. That's how I went into USAID project, leading to my role at S&P Cap IQ, which is the market intelligence data. So I was working with the financial data there for some time, led me to, and at that time, that's 2015, is when I learned about the data science concept. And I was like, okay, I'm doing data analysis, I'm learning SQL, I'm doing the OLTP. So I think it's time for me to go into that next step. And that's why I moved to the US in 2016, did my master's from ASU in business analytics. And then since then, we have been in the Northern Virginia area, worked with an AI company as a data analyst, then with EY as a consultant, and now at Nike.
Wow, very impressive.
Visit dataversity.net and expand your knowledge with thousands of articles and blogs written by industry experts, plus free live and on-demand webinars covering the complete data management spectrum. While you're there, subscribe to the weekly newsletter so you'll never miss a beat.
So how was that to make such a big move?
It was difficult, definitely. I think it's pretty hard. A lot of people don't talk about it, leaving your comfort. And I was living, and I remember when I was I was going for my, degree. A lot of people said, when you have a good job, you don't pursue degree. Like, what do you do a degree for? To get a good job. You already have a good job where I was at, S&P, and it's a great company to work with. Why are you going? And I think it's just that, thirst to learn more. And that's what I've been doing all my life. And even now, I think is my goal has always been where I am. How can I, up my game? How can I upskill myself? How can I improve? 5 years down the lane, this same technology will not be used and probably something else will be there. So I always try to keep myself up to what is happening. And that's what led me to, my move here. The only thing is I moved to Arizona and it was super hot. Like, that's not how you see in movies. You see Christmas in New York and whatnot. And then I come to the scorching heat of Arizona and I was like, oh God, where have I landed? Probably that was the worst part of the move.
It does get hot there. Yeah.
It was super. It was 110, I think, in that specific month. I landed in August. It was crazy.
Yeah. And if and I know there's hot places around the world, but to give context, like, I know that I've had friends tell me, you have to park in a garage because, if there's days where your tires will melt.
Well, exactly. Yep, exactly.
That's hot. That's really hot.
It is.
But, that's fascinating. I love that. And that's some big, bold moves. And I agree, I'm so glad that you didn't listen to those voices saying, hey, why do you need to pursue this? Because you felt in your heart that you did, and you just wanted to keep going.
Yep. And I think credit also goes to my mother. I would say, like, sometimes, and I think that's the kind of person you need in your life, someone to believe in you. Probably if I wouldn't have made that, I was on the edge, I would say, but she was the real person at the back saying, you can do it. And if other people can do it, why not? And if not, just do your degree and come back, and then you can get an upgrade on your job. So, just go for it. And so I think that's also part of who I am today is because of her.
Oh, I love that. Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, what's been your biggest lesson so far in your career?
That's a great question. I think they change with time, but one thing that I would definitely say that has been consistent is ask questions. Always ask questions. I think that's the way to go. And I've seen people fail because of it, and that's why I considered it as a lesson. And I myself failed multiple times, and I, joined, especially when I joined US corporate. It was very new to me. My previous jobs were very different, and I joined here. I did not know a lot of things, and I would just shy away and be quiet and just sit in a meeting and, be like, okay, once it gets over, I'll probably talk to my other colleagues and ask around, like, I did not understand this and this. And that just meant I was wasting my time while I was on that call, and also wasting other people's time after I'm asking them those questions. And I was still okay doing that when my manager actually called me out and say, "Hey, I didn't hear you speak in that meeting." And I was like, "Yeah, I wasn't sure." And she's like, "No, you have to speak up, because if you don't ask questions, number one, we don't know if you're listening. Number two, we don't know if you're understanding anything. And number three, you can't help us if you don't know what's happening or if you understand the situation here." And I think that made sense to me. So she mentored me, which I try mentoring my peers and my juniors and those that I am, responsible for now. I think I try, if there's one lesson that I ask everyone to, stay in touch with or to maintain, is definitely to ask questions. You might be in a meeting where the people very smart, you think you're nobody or your opinion doesn't matter, but always speak up, always ask, because it might be possible that no one knows the answer to those questions, and they're also pretending to know what's happening around. And that actually happened, like, and especially with acronyms. I don't know, I've heard, like, there's so many acronyms flying around or jargons, and people will use them, and you'll be like, "Oh, I don't know, I'll search this later." And maybe I'm the only one who doesn't understand, and I would actually ask, "What does this mean?" And even like the main lead person would be like, "Yeah, I never thought what this would mean. We don't know. We just call it this, but it's a good question, and we look it up." So I think that's where you should start from.
Oh, such that's such a good lesson. I one that I had to learn myself. Yeah,
Exactly. I think with time you learn all of these things.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. So tell me, having worked with data for a while, especially with a degree, in it. So what's your definition of data?
I think for me, data itself is anything that brings a useful information for you. Anything that you can do to improve your business, especially looking from the organization's point of view. And I feel like people have the data, they just don't know how to use it, and they should definitely look into getting, the right resources. And I don't mean to say just the people side of it, even from technology's perspective, like, considering, in the age of Gen AI and LLMs, they don't even need proper, like, they can use those data sets, the open source platforms that are available already, and use that data to find insights for their businesses. Small scale business, I wouldn't expect a small scale or small business to, have a whole platform like a Databricks or Snowflake system incorporated, but they can always have Excel files. They can always have, someone to look or just feed the LLMs and ask, like, this has, the people have always maintained account books. It's nothing different. Nothing has changed. So I think for me, data is rows and columns, of course, but anything that brings value to your business is data, and you can use that for your benefit.
Absolutely. So, do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
That's another great question. I think, like, times are changing so quickly that you can't even predict what's going to happen in the next few months, and what technologies will be, outdated, and what's coming up next. But I do feel a huge part of data management is data governance. And data stewardship itself. A lot of things can be automated, even data governance, yes, but a lot of learning needs to be done on that front. I think since now we are dealing with such huge amount of data at this stage, people don't know how to handle it. Like, big companies don't know what to do with it, how to handle it. There's a lot of PI, personal informations on there. I worked with healthcare before, so a lot of policies, HIPAA policies in there. They need to incorporate those, and I feel like that there's these gaps. Like, everyone's rushing to get the data and use it, but they don't know that governance side of it, or they're not actually, the pipelines aren't set properly. There's no data stewardship. There's no one responsible for data itself. And I think a lot of jobs would eventually, I think a lot of people don't know it yet, but there'll be a lot of failures. There'll be a lot of data leaks, security issues that would cause them to focus on that. They're just looking on it as a sideline thing right now. But eventually, I think that will come into the focus. And just the fact that a lot of responsible AI has also been in a huge focus, because that's again dependent on the data that you're feeding it, right? So the models can create biased information for you, and again, that's dependent. The model itself is not throwing out answers; it's the data that you're feeding it. So all of these, I think, will eventually transform. These data management jobs will transform into more like responsible AI jobs, data governance, data stewardship, and opportunities like those.
I think we at DataVersity, are seeing exactly what you're talking about. A lot of companies are like invested in AI and all the cool things it can do, and then they're like, wait, why isn't it producing what we wanted?
Exactly.
So you pay attention to the data going in.
Yeah, like guardrails, things like that needs to be talked about much more. Right now, I think the focus is on the beginning side of it, but it's a whole tunnel, and the focus should need to be more on that side as well. I think it needs to be balanced.
Yeah, we're making a big bet on that. I mean, so many companies are training on how to build the LLMs, what to use them for, and we're focusing on the AI governance.
Yeah, that's a great thing. You're already looking in the future. Then, great job.
So tell me, what advice would you give to people looking to get into a career in data management in any aspect of data?
Sure. I think first of all, don't be scared. I know people think it is hard code programming, and it's a different domain altogether. I don't think so. I think if you're good at logics, if you're good at making sense out of things, if you're a logical person, that's how I'd say it. You understand like this is how things happen in sequence. These tasks are not that difficult. I think it's just more like how you've been built and raised and your experiences. And I've seen people from such diverse field coming into this field, like biomedicine, anthropology. I know people are from quantum physics. So you don't have to have a degree in business analytics like me, or data analytics. That's not. I know I did that, all of that, because I was in that field for over 12 years. But I've seen people switch gears. I had someone in my class actually, and he was doing culinary arts, and I was always so amazed. Like, he came from an undergrad from such a different background, and he was doing analytics, and then he ended up in a job which was in analytics as well. A lot of people who don't even do those degrees, but they're just naturally, they acquire that knowledge, and you don't have to go through hardcore coding. SQL is a very basic language that I think will help you. Excel is a very good tool, just like a basic tool for you. A lot of companies, like I mentioned before, do not have large scale data. They're looking at very small files, SFTPs or smaller file versions. So, start from there. I always say start from Excel, see how a pivot table is created, how summary tables are created. You don't even need to do macros or anything on Excel. It's very simple, summarized view of data aggregations that you can see there. And that's actually the baseline of what you're doing. So don't be scared, and always be ready to learn. I think things are changing so rapidly that, always be open to learning new technologies. And for that, you have such great materials. I think in this era, this is not 15 years ago when I'd ask my colleague, can I borrow this book from you? And then, or go to library and get a, book issued. You'd have resources, you have LLMs, you have Google, you have all the different people in the world who are making these YouTube videos for you. Everything has a 5 minutes tutorial, 10 minutes tutorial, or a 1 hour tutorial. So choose what you want to do, try to adapt. And I'm pretty sure you'll be successful.
I'm just built my first app, thanks to Copilot, who walked me through it.
Sweet. Yeah. Copilot is doing great. There's Cursor, and these are all free. The time and you have to pay for these services. Now it's all free. Just try it. What kind of app did you build? Is a web app or mobile?
It's just an app to track a program like that has many different components so the team can enter it in and everybody can access the different parts that they need and need to know. And yeah.
Nice. Sounds great. Yeah, there you go.
Simple.
See,
So simple, but
yep. I'm still doing a course. One of my course, like I'm very big on AI and healthcare itself. That's something that I like to do on the side. So I'm still doing some courses there and learning, what new things are coming into EHR and things like that. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, like your learning never stops. I've been in the industry for almost 13 years. Learning has never stopped, not a single day.
Yeah, I think that's, I talk about it often on this podcast because it's kind of the reason that I started this podcast, right? I initially started it to show there's not a one pathway into data, right? There's so many different ways to get into it. It's not, like you say, you don't have to have the background in data science necessarily, right? But the commonality that I did find amongst everybody is that curiosity, right? Everybody has that curiosity, that wanting to learn, that need to learn, that constant learning. And it's just, I love it.
I think to just summarize this, I think being a hustler or being, you need to hustle really and I agree, it's survival of the fittest. You're competing with the best of the best here. US itself is a big market. You have talent from all over the world. So you need to do something to stand out. If you're just a regular person, you'll eventually fall off. And I think it's just that competition, that hustle, and that need to be at the top. I think that leads you to where you are.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Oh, Muzna, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today.
Same here. Thanks, Shannon, for having me. It was a great opportunity. And if any help needed from me, let me know.
Oh, thank you so much. And, I'll post, you send us a link to your LinkedIn. We'll get that posted to the website as well so people can chat with you and connect. Yep. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to help anyone. Reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up to date in the latest in podcasts and in the latest in data management education, you may go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to DATAVERSITY Talks, a podcast brought to you by DATAVERSITY. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.